We're live.
Welcome back to World's Strongest Opinions, episode 55 with Inez Carrasquillo, who we haven't had on since episode 10. It has been an entire year. Entire year has gone by since we've had you on, Inez. Welcome back to the show. It's so good to have you.
No, it's great to be back. I can't believe it's been a year.
Right? It just seems like yesterday. I mean, part of that is because like we review old videos, but the year has like completely flown by.
Yeah, 2023 has just gone fast in general.
Yeah, it really has. It's been a wild year for you overall.
Yeah, let's talk about your year, Nez. I mean, we saw you at OSG. Like we were just talking before we started, I was competing. I didn't have an opportunity to stop and say hi. There's so many people and I missed so many people while we were at OSG. What has been going on?
Yeah, so in March I did the Arnold in Columbus, Ohio. I also did Rainier just to jump in and hit the world record log. And then I did OSG this year. Yeah, so I've only done 3 competitions this year, but it seems like I did more. Feels like I've done more.
I mean, those are big shows. And the 320-pound log was, I watch that video regularly because it's one of the most insane lifts of 2023, in my opinion. Going into 2024, you have plans for breaking your own record?
Not right now. I'm focusing on trying to break the other overhead world records. Circus dumbbell, there's an opportunity at the Arnold next year to break the world record dumbbell. So we'll see. It's not my best overhead, but I have 12 weeks, so maybe I'll have another world record.
Yeah. What is it sitting at right now? The world record. And I apologize. I don't have that handy. I can look up on Chaos UK though. I'm sure they've got it.
I think it's like 185, 187, something like that by Sam Beliveau.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm verifying this because we do have resources. If nobody is aware, Luke Davis in UK keeps a very nice record of world records on chaosstrength.co.uk of all the weight class, men and women's world records. I'm looking. So it's 83 kilograms by Sam Beliveau. I don't know if that is in pounds. So what is that?
I think that's 187, right around, or no, somewhere.
Yeah, 183.
183.
Okay. Yeah, I've hit 190 in the gym when I was prepping for Rainier last year.
Nice.
So, but that was on a cylinder dumbbell. The dumbbells really vary. Right now, I'm working on a globe dumbbell, and I'm messing up 150. So it just really depends on the dumbbell. I think it'll make or break.
I hear that.
Yeah,
it's true.
I hear that. I'm the same way. Like depending on like how long it is, if I can get it like right up against my head, or if it's longer and I got to put it behind my back. And yeah, we have a globe one at the gym too. That I don't know why. It's just like it's so much harder to get into position. It's very weird.
It's just comical looking too.
Yeah, right. Well, I think that's the point. It's why I call this circus comical, right? It's supposed to be comical. I mean, strongman is all kind of like it's a what's the word I'm looking for? It's a spectacle, right? That's what it's always been about. It's kind of that spectacle, and things are comically huge, but I mean, it kind of gives that image of old-time strongman, right? When you look at a lot of the old-time strongmen, all of their implements were very circusy, a lot of globes and sort of comically just huge, right?
Yeah.
It's true. Like the old Steinborn squats and everything.
Oh, yeah.
I like their Hannah Coldarn up in Oklahoma. She had a competition that was actually in a circus tent and all circus themed, and the pictures are amazing. Like they did like barrel squats. Would have been 2 years ago, maybe, or last year sometime.
Yeah, I think they're hosting it this year again too.
Yeah,
Coming up.
which looks amazing. Like just seeing that aesthetic, I was like, the pictures are really bright and the outfits and everything like matched. I was like, I like that kind of whimsical thing rather than like huge implements and everything. Doing like old timey strongman stuff. I was like,
Yeah.
this looks fun.
Yeah, and not to change the subject, but I did want to, and I don't want to bring the tone down, but I do want to offer my condolences to you, Nez, for you losing your dad. I know you learned that at OSG. You went on and competed anyway, which is freaking amazing, and a great tribute to your father. And yeah, I wanted to make sure that you hear that from me. I lost my dad a few years ago. It's not easy by any means.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I heard literally 5 minutes after check-in.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, and I was like, I just drove 8 hours to get here. And, I talked to my boyfriend and I was like, should we go home? Should we stay here? And he was like, what would your dad want? And I was like, he'd want me to compete.
Yeah.
So I was like, I have to stay and compete. And it was hard. It was really difficult to like focus. I made so many mistakes that I've never made before in my entire life.
Right.
And it was a very big learning process for me this year at OSG because those little mistakes cost me podium. I got fourth place. So,
right.
Yeah.
But you still persevered. I mean, you still competed, which is, I think most people would probably backed out at that point. I think I probably would have. So I mean, huge kudos just for doing that. And, again, that's tough. And yeah, my sincerest condolences.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So what, you're now invited to the Arnold. Prep is 12 weeks out. What's that looking like for you?
Terrible. The events are not great for me. 2 grip events, 2 max events, and a really weird stow medley. So I'm not very excited about the events for the US, but we have yet to hear the events for the UK. So hopefully there's something in there for me that I enjoy.
Right.
Because I particularly do not enjoy grip events.
Right.
I don't know if you saw my hands after the Sticks and Stones event at OSG.
No. My
hands were literally like a cheese grater. I was bleeding all over the Denny stones. It was so bad. And they had to tape me up for deadlifts the next day. And it was pretty bad. So,
wow.
But I mean, not my thing.
Right. But also, it's an opportunity to train your weaknesses, right? Kind of forces you to. So I mean, there's probably, a little bit of a silver lining there, maybe.
Yeah, and Aaron Murray was talking about working on your weaknesses, and I'm over here like, Aaron, shut up. Let me be a baby about it. I could say that Aaron's one of my best friends.
Yeah, she's awesome. She was a great guest on the show too. Yeah, that was exactly what I was thinking. Going into that conversation we just had this conversation with Aaron Murray a week ago. Yeah, it's a good opportunity to work on your weaknesses, and too many people I think will back out and not do those shows that don't favor them, and it just makes you stronger for pushing through and working on those weaknesses and still competing anyway.
Yeah, I agree. Just hoping that my hands pull through and I finish the events because I can't not finish. And
right.
I did at OSG.
Right. Maybe tape your hands up ahead of time. I don't know if that'll help.
I'm going to tacky myself to the frame.
There you go.
Oh man!
I've always wanted to try to create some chalk. Strongman's for cheating, so I don't mind talking about this. I always wanted to get some chalk that had resin in it that that was nice and white but sticky. but not so sticky it left residue on it.
You gotta like,
You
get
just-
like a little cloth in your shorts and just wipe it off real quick.
There you go.
True.
Exactly.
Like those little golf towels.
But I mean, I think if you walk up with like nothing on your hands, it's gonna be like they're gonna be like, what's going on here?
A little suspicious there.
It's a little suspicious. But if you had some like, because they do actually make some like resin powder for golfing, but it's not really that great. And I'm just like, and then Olympic gymnasts mix like chalk and honey and like all this stuff together to help with like the rings and stuff. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I've heard that. I've heard the honey trick.
Yeah, how can we pull that off in strongman to where like it doesn't break the rules? Because if they don't say you can't do it,
You can do it.
you can do it.
True.
As long as it's not sumo. Even if they don't say you can't sumo, don't use sumo.
Yeah, no, that's illegal in its own way.
I like we were just talking about grip stuff of like whenever people like Mitchell Hooper just did stone to shoulder with 400 pounds, but whenever they're like no tacky, just chalk, but the stone like sticks to every part of their clothes as they go up because it has that much resin left over on it. I'm like, there's some extra chalk there. Of
Yeah, that's
extra
true.
tacky.
I mean, it's 400 to the
That's
shoulder
true.
is
It's
still
still huge.
ridiculous. Still ridiculous, but yeah, that comes up pretty frequently when people post like no tacky stone pics, but the stone is like caked in tacky. Not really no tacky pic.
That's true. That's like the stones at the final event for OSG. They're just like by the end, some people's were sticking so hard that they're like pulling up the horse stall mat and everything. I was like, it's very.
Did you
intense.
experience that on the stone run, Ness? Where your stones were like sticking, just like. I mean, it was kind of crazy to see from the stands.
No, it wasn't too bad because like with the women, we get like the fresh stones. So there's not much tacky that builds up.
Sure.
The first stone is rough because there's so much tack on the first stone.
Right.
But for us, the last stone wasn't touched. So there was no tacky on the last stone.
Okay.
And it was Rebecca and I were the only two that finished that stone series, I think.
Right.
So that was my win. I was like, if I'm going to go fourth place and not have enough points to catch up, I'm winning the stone series.
Right. Yeah, and I think, and maybe Ben, like when you got towards like the 105s and the open guys, like they're the same mats were used for every class coming up to it. So I mean, there's probably a lot of tacky built up just on the mats as well. And I remember seeing a few people, you could see the differences when they pulled into the stone and there was like this little like second or so hesitation. Then when it broke away from the mat, it just flew up, right?
Yeah.
Like it was definitely adding some resistance.
Yeah, I didn't really watch the stones afterwards because I was super tired and I was laying in the stands.
Yeah. Understandable.
Yeah, I can see that happening. It happens at my gym all the time.
Right. I mean, it's common, right? It is common in strongman. It's not unusual, but for me, it was maybe the first time I ever really noticed it as a spectator versus an athlete. And it was so very noticeable how much you could just see how much harder some of the athletes were pulling on the stones to break them off the mats. It was kind of nuts.
It was crazy. What was it? There's something I just thought of and now I lost it and everything. I was going to say, so what's your opinion of the way they recalculate the scores and everything for the final?
Controversial
and everything. I wanted to hear your thoughts because in my mind, I thought it should have been first place gets 10 points, last place gets 1, and like everyone has a chance at the top then possibly. But what's your thoughts?
Oh, when they recalculate day 3?
Yeah.
It worked in my favor, so
so you like it.
so I like it. Last year it worked in my favor as well because it takes out the unnecessary points that were given to, so like it balances it out. Whereas like if someone got like like 20th place, but they got first in an event, it takes away those points and it makes the playing field a little more even. And it makes more sense because if someone has like a 20-point lead, you know what I mean? And then the day 3, they end up getting like a 3-point lead. So then it makes it more competitive on day 3. So I like it just because it makes it more competitive, and it just makes more sense because you're only getting 10 points for first place anyways, and not the open women. There was like 24, I believe. So that was 24 points, and it changes it drastically.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
We were talking about that one.
We talk about that a lot. I don't like it because there's several cases over the years and even this year where it makes it impossible for some people that make it to the final, like literally mathematically impossible for some people to make it on the podium. And I just, whereas if they would have either just kept the points as is, there still would have been a possibility for them to get to the podium. Or if they change it, like John said, and did like, just recalculate as 10 to 1, 10 points down to 1, there'd still be a mathematical possibility for them to get to the podium. Not necessarily saying that those people were physically capable of doing it, but from the mathematical perspective, it didn't just automatically eliminate them from the competition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that happens.
Yeah. It could either work in your favor or not.
Right.
But I'm glad they do the same thing every single year.
Sure. Consistency, I think, is key. There was one case where and we love Derek. I'm not bashing Derek. It's not his fault by any means. He did get let into the finals, and he was tied for 10th, and that recalculation bumped him up to 5th.
Which is crazy to me.
Which was crazy.
I was like, I don't understand how that works. How you could be 10th out of like 50 people or 30 people, and then 5th out of 10.
Yeah,
it's like that's what confused me, is looking at the 90s class. I was trying to figure out how that works. I was like, but it makes sense though. If it favors you, it favored Tyler Davis last year.
Sure.
Everything with recalc, but it does make things complicated. Of if another person gets added to your class, how those points are all spread out. Because it took me a while to understand how the recalculation happened, because in my mind I was like, everything's just a qualifier and then scores a reset. But then it makes sense, like some people's class like yours, it did actually make people closer. Then some people it made them much farther away.
I think because our class is so small compared to some of the men's classes, that it's not as big as a discrepancy as the open men, or the masters class. There's like 40, 50 competitors in there, and that'll change drastically versus what we had like 20 open women. So it's not as big of a deal as, the bigger classes are.
Right. Yeah. True. I would just like to see it where it's, if you're getting into the finals, getting to finals is a big deal in and of itself. Like that's still pretty huge. But I don't know. And I haven't been in that position, but I try to put myself in the shoes of somebody, and maybe I'm overthinking it, and maybe not anybody else thinks this way. But I feel like if I got into the finals and then my points were recalculated to where I mathematically had no chance of making the podium anymore, I'm like, I would still compete just because I was there. But at the same time, I'd be like, this kind of defeated the purpose of me making it to the finals. Like I can no longer advance. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of it's a weird system, but yeah, I agree with you. Consistency is a big deal. Because a lot of times strongman especially lacks consistency, particularly in judging. And so any consistency I think we do get in the sport is a big win by all means. Yeah, and Lynn does an amazing job too. Like, not true at all. Like, knocking Lynn, the amount of work it takes to put on a show of that caliber is pretty insane in and of itself. So,
yeah, no, he did a great job this year, especially with how many athletes that competed. And I feel like compared to last year, that was a disaster. because
That's
of
not his fault.
hurricane. Yeah, no, not his fault.
Right, at all.
From the athlete, it was a disaster. From our standpoint, it was awful.
Right.
So this year was like a piece of cake compared to last year.
Right. Right. Yeah. What do you do when, like, I mean, what can you do when Mother Nature strikes? It's like when in contracts, it always says like we're not liable for acts of God, right?
Yeah.
You do your best and you work around it, which I mean, honestly, I mean, I didn't make it last year. I was supposed to, but I've heard from a lot of people that despite the weather, I mean, things still worked out pretty darn well. Crunching 3 days into 2 is no small task.
No, we were there from 8 a.m. to like 11 p.m.
Wow.
And I think I finished sandbag to shoulder probably like 10:30 p.m.
Wow.
It was a long day. We basically got kicked out of the venue, and we had to have the men's class do their sandbag to shoulder on day 2 to start the day, and then we did finals after that.
Right. Wow. That's brutal. That's a long day. I mean, even Friday was like a 12-hour day. It was tough.
Yeah.
But I think for at least one class, I mean, that's the way World's Strongest Man is. So they're getting a taste of what that may be, in the very least. But yeah, it's a definitely some long, long days.
That's true.
But the field is freaking amazing, though. Right, the backdrop, the equipment is phenomenal.
Let's talk about that yoke press. That's equipment.
That's what I was going to ask about. I was like, as someone you typically enjoy pressing, I was like, how did you feel about the pressing events?
It made me fall. I've never touched that implement before, and the fabricated one that was in the back for
so much easier.
It was so much easier. And then you go out there and you're like, what the hell is this?
I smoked 300 in the back, and I walked up and they actually dropped our yoke to 302, and I got up to, I locked it out, and it just threw me all over the place. Yeah. It was crazy.
Yeah, they actually accidentally added 10 pounds to all the women's classes.
Oh, nice.
So ours was actually 10 pounds heavier than what it was supposed to be. At least it was consistent with all the classes.
Right.
Yeah, but that, I have never missed an overhead, and that was really humbling for me.
I think it humbled a lot of people. A lot of people that, I mean, even when I was sitting in the stands, I was like, Nez is going to smoke this. And then I was like, in my class, Dan Hughes is going to smoke this. And I mean, him and both Jeff Lee struggle with it, which was really surprising. There's a lot of people across the board that just like got stopped at that yoke. And you're right. The one that we had for warm up was not the same at all.
No, we were smoking that in the back.
Yep.
Yeah, because everyone said that. They were like, some people, they were like, yeah, I hit comp weight in back. It felt so confident. And then just like that swing of just watching it, like, because it started swinging as soon as you left the ground. Of like, it felt like there was some side sway and just like the back and forth.
And I don't know what it was.
That's
brutal. I mean, everybody's going to come up with like their assumptions and reasons, and people are like, well, the one in the back was like just heavier by itself, so there was less weight on the down below, where the ones out in on the field were lighter implements, so there was more weight swinging below, which is probably good assumption of why they swung so much more, because the one in the back was just built heavier across, like top to bottom, right? I don't know what it was. I mean, I was pressing lighter weight yokes in training too, and didn't have as much problem. But yeah, it is what it is. At the end of the day, people still finished it. So we all just need to get stronger. Apparently,
more stability,
or strict press, like our good friend Emmanuel Piscari did. Just went out and strict pressed everything.
I feel like a lot of the Masters men strict press everything. Just that old man strength.
Yeah. Well, you mean like Ryan Heinle? I mean, yeah, that was too late for him, I think.
Yeah.
Too easy.
What's always surprising to me is the people who like struggle with the clean and then will just strict press. I'm like, that's an insane ratio, right?
Right.
Where it's just like I saw some of the guys who it's like you clean it twice, can't get it, and then once it's clean, you just strict press. I'm like, that's an insane strength.
Dude, that's Iron BB, man. Like,
yeah,
he struggled so much to clean the axle, but once he gets it cleaned, like he just strict presses it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that blows my mind too.
Right.
Because I like your split jerk's always impressive and everything. People can manage a nice little like the Olympic style pressing and everything with it. I'm like, that makes the most sense and everything. It's so crazy, like the weights that you're doing, of like watching.
Split jerking a yoke is nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not split jerk it. I tried push pressing it. But I honestly should have just split jerk it. And because I know that the best. But the problem is I couldn't I couldn't make the handle low enough for me to split jerk it and actually get underneath it.
Right.
Because my dip is a lot more when I split jerk versus when I push press.
Sure.
So I was like, I'm going to touch the floor and it's going to throw me off.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if they would have taken that away from you if that happened. I mean, if you were like to like just touch the floor at the right point and then just stand up with it, I don't know how that would work at all, but there'd just be like a rack lockout.
There were some guys that had the bar high enough for it to be a rack. Yeah.
I saw that.
That was smart.
I agree. And in hindsight, I wish I would have thought about that. You just got under it and just stood up with it. Just like squat low enough, straighten your arms and just stand up. I wonder if they would allow that. They didn't say we couldn't.
Yeah, they did not. And some people really took advantage of that. And I was watching like, damn, I should have thought about that.
Right.
But I'm also 6'1" and I'm a little too tall for that.
Right. Yeah, same. Well, and plus like I changed some stuff up. Like I did that rookie thing too with the tombstone sandbag. All the super heavyweight guys are like, oh, like they were picking it sideways. And I'm like, oh, that looks awesome. So I did that in the back and it was really great. And then I got out on the field and the tombstone that we had was like super tightly packed and it wasn't as easy to get over my knees. So yeah, it's not a good idea to change things up the day of competition.
That event was rough. I think I fell 6 times.
Really?
Yeah. And I still got 4th place.
That's amazing. I didn't see you fall.
Oh, I fell like 6 times.
No way.
So the sled, so OSG 2021, the sled was.
Oh, you fell on the sled.
Yeah, I fell on the sled.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you meant like carrying the sandbags.
Oh, no, I was speeding right through that.
Right.
But then the sled was so light. I thought the sled was going to be like really heavy.
Right.
And when I was pulling it, I was leaning back too much because I'm like, oh, it's supposed to be a heavy sled. And so I fell right at the start. And then I couldn't get my momentum back to like change up how I was pulling it. So I fell like 6 times.
When you have all that weight on your back too.
Yeah.
Like, which just makes it, yeah, exactly. That's what usually happens with like light sleds. Like you get moving too fast or whatever. And yeah, your feet just fall out from under you.
Because you saw
so many times.
Like several of the people were like feet ahead of the other people were going so fast with the sleds and then tripped 3 feet from the finish line. And then like the recovery, I saw several people try to like stay on the ground with their knees and pull. And I was like, the sleds, it's too heavy to be able to pull on your knees. So I was like,
well, I think some people ended up with a turtle effect and like know how to get back up with that weight on their back, right? There, it's like
that was a rough event though, because I was just imagining the pick. I didn't realize that they'd like also put a belt around your waist, so it's like squeezing your stomach as you're like tilted over.
There was some of the women that didn't belt up. I noticed.
I didn't know if that was an option.
It totally is. I don't think you had to. You just had to have the weight on your back.
Yeah,
and so
I think it'd be harder without the belt, but.
That's what I was trying to figure out. I was like, do you think that so like it's squeezing you? I couldn't tell though.
But I mean, like if you have like a hiking backpack, they have the waistbands because it helps distribute the weight more evenly rather than being all on your shoulders. You get some of the weight down on your hips, right? You lower that center of gravity a bit, and yeah, it's a lot easier to manage. So having a belt, in my opinion, would have been not buckling the belt to me would be a disadvantage. Because I know in training a couple times I had the weight too high in my backpack, and when I bent over it, just like I about fell on my head. Because it's crazy how much like a little bit of difference in the height of that like makes when you bend over.
Yeah, the backpack I used in training like was not great, so I was very used to the backpack.
Yeah. Mine was not great either, and like depending on what I put in it, I tried to put sandbag like my gym has like Go Ruck, like I guess they're like kettlebell things. They're saying like kettlebells or something. So I tried to put like 250-pounders in my hiking backpack because that's what I had. The week before I did 425s, which sat low and was really easy. And then I put 2 of those 50-pound sand bells or whatever they're called. And when I bent over to pick up the sandbag, I just like fell over because the weight distribution was too high. Yeah, it should just totally change the game.
Yeah, it was a brutal event to be your last one, like to qualify and stuff. Right. I was like, just watching people, I was like, that so many people, the floor was slippery. It was less slippery than the PSL U90s showed that their sled leg was super slippery, but this was like it seemed real hard to get your momentum. You either got it real well or like once people faltered, it was like tough, but just still come in fourth with that is great though.
Yeah, absolutely.
But from that height though, I was thinking that's the main thing. Like once you get taller, like having to pick up the Husafell and those sandbags, I was like, with something that far, I was like, do not envy that range of motion.
And no, it's not fun.
Yeah.
But like, leverage is like, I mean, tall people have good leverages for like picking things off the ground and deadlifting, surprisingly.
Not when you got short arms.
Fair. Yeah, having long arms definitely helps.
Yeah, I got a 5'6" wingspan. Like, I have no arms.
Oh, wow.
That's
really?
Crazy.
Yeah, I know.
That is crazy.
That's wild.
It's always weird. Like, I have this friend here that looks like he has this really short wingspan because he's like so thick, right? And I used to like, and he has like his really crazy overhead press, and you know, being the excuse maker that I am, I'm like, he's got. If I had short arms, I could press as well as him too, right? And so one day I'm like, let's measure your wingspan compared to mine, and his was like. He was like 5'10" or something like that. He had like a 6'2" wingspan or something stupid like that, like longer than mine. And I'm like, well, I guess that excuse doesn't work anymore.
Dude, those people like seeing, I forget what powerlifting meet I saw a while back. I think it might have been Gainesmith or one of them. It was one of the guys who was like a deadlift specialist. And when he stood up, the tips of his fingers could almost touch the tops of his kneecap. So like his lockout was literally like 3 inches above his knees. I was like, that's just wild.
That's like what's his name? Ivan Makarov. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, Makarov or
Makarov. I was watching him deadlift today, and he's like, dude, his arms are like at his kneecaps too. His hands are like super low. That's nuts. I'm envious of people like that.
Yeah. Though having a deficit of 7 inches to your wingspan is intense, though. I did not realize your wingspan was like that.
That is crazy. Yeah,
that's why I'm a great presser. My deadlift lockouts at my belly button, basically. So.
I was going to say on stones that would be extra challenging. I was like,
but you won the stone. But you won the stones.
Yeah,
at OSG.
With enough tacky, you can do anything.
Especially with like extra heavy spider tacky. You just like
that's what we used.
Yeah, you stick to everything. I was actually so I started with the guys that developed spider tacky back in Fargo, North Dakota. In the first batch, I will never forget. before they dialed in they can make it way stronger. Let's put it that way. I remember picking up a stone and it was a light stone, right, and throwing it up on the platform and not be able to come off of it. It just drug me into the platform so hard. So yeah, they could definitely make it. You don't want it stronger though, because then you can't let go.
Yeah. Oh man,
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Don't know what happened there. I was talking and you started talking. I'm like, don't know what happened.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
But I was saying the first time I ever lost my calluses was Brian Shaw used to put on the Brian Shaw Classic at there's a big bodybuilding show up in Loveland, Colorado, and he had some IFSA replica farmers handles, and everybody, literally everybody, lost their calluses that day, and it was the first time I've ever lost calluses either. And I'm in the bathroom. Cale Beck gave me new skin. He's like, here, use this, right? I've never used it before. I don't know what I'm getting into. So I go in the bathroom and I clean up and trim my calluses off. And I put this new skin on my hands and it burned so freaking bad. I'm cursing, kicking the stall next to me. I thought I was alone in this big bathroom, right? And this poor little kid hooks his head out from the stall, way down, scared out of his mind because there's this crazy person in the bathroom, screaming and swearing. But it hurts so bad. Don't use new skin. It's the worst shit on the planet.
It's better than crazy glue.
I've never done that.
I've done that. Not fun.
Not fun.
Crazy glue, and then so we spray it with alcohol first.
No.
Yes, you have to. And then after that, it's either new skin or crazy glue.
No thanks. I'll pass. Hard pass on that. So I've only torn my calluses one other time. It was a mass wrestling event in Chicago at one of Oathaugen's shows against Mark Bevins, one of the Masters men at OSG this week. I mean, he's been around. He's one of the OGs. I tore my calluses mass wrestling, and I just taped it up. It was fine. I will tape.
Will get you.
Yeah, if I ever tear calluses again, it's just going to be tape.
Yeah, the crazy glue sounds miserable.
No, alcohol sounds terrible. That's the worst possible thing. That's the last thing I want to put in a wound is alcohol.
Got to clean it out because you don't want to get your hands infected. So I didn't have to do it myself. Luckily, I had someone else do it for me. So they held me down while doing it.
Just tied you down. I tied you to a I don't know what I'm trying to say. Tied you to a hospital cart.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Held me down and sprayed both my hands, and that was.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Did they at least put a stick in your mouth to bite on?
No courtesy whatsoever.
No courtesy whatsoever. Total disrespect. I don't know. I mean, you're probably right. I know. I've been in the sport in a long, long time, and I remember this pro. His name was John Connor. He actually went pro at the first competition I ever did in 2008. And some people may still remember John. He got this really bad staph infection in his sternum from doing bare-chested stones, Atlas stones.
Wow.
And every time I see somebody go out without a shirt on or sleeves, I'm like, I think about John Connor. I'm like, those stones are disgustingly dirty. So many hands have been on them. They've been rolled through crap. You don't know what's on them. And it's it's tearing your skin open. I mean, I've bled every time I've done bare skin stones. I've certainly scabbed up. Right. And I was thinking about John Connor. He almost died. Cause he had a staph infection, inches from his heart.
That's crazy.
And so, yeah, I mean, the reality is that, especially in a competition with 378 people, you hope that everybody is healthy and doesn't have any contractable illnesses. But you're right. I mean, if you tear your skin, and I mean, there's probably a good chance of all kinds of funk that could get in there.
I think it's also courtesy to wear a shirt, especially if you're a hairy guy.
Right.
I get to see
Nick,
give him a free wax.
Uncle Nick. Not talking about you.
Dude, seeing those patches of just, I was like,
Dude, that was so crazy.
Ever since the staph infection thing, I'm like, no, I'll tape up real heavy for stones now.
Yeah.
Poor Lynn's the one that has to spray all the hair off the stone.
Yeah. Do you see Mitch Hooper out there like taking pictures after Nick did his stone run? And Aaron's like, well, before it even starts, he's like, pay attention, ladies and gentlemen. Knew exactly what was going to happen.
Gee, that was a good time. Also, I was very impressed by the fact that Mitchell Hooper wore a volunteer shirt and like worked as a hard volunteer. I was like, that's the world's strongest volunteer right there. I was like, someone recently, I think it was CJ Pierce or someone. Actually, no, Brando was saying he wants to have a comp sometime where like one of the events is just dragging horse stall mats. I was like, that would be crazy.
We did that at USS Nationals in 2018. That was the drag. It was just mats. And it was so heavy that I don't think any of the women finished because they made them do the same weights as the same mats as the men. It was ridiculous. And so I don't think anybody in the women's I think a lot of the middleweights then even didn't finish it. It was, dragging horse stall mats is not fun. It was a weird event. It was a super weird event. I think their sleds didn't show up, is what happened.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. And so we just ended up dragging like horse stall mats.
Oh, man. That'll definitely challenge your grip. Just to have to drag as many horse stall mats as you could, or just one. Time I'm like, that sounds very intense.
Yeah,
I was like, that would be a wild one. But it was neat to see him out there volunteering and like helping and stuff. Overall, like it was crazy to like watch the whole production from like just a bystander's standpoint. It was neat like seeing everyone and stuff. I was gonna ask you, what's it like being in like one of the smaller classes? Do you get a lot more like socializing, or like how is your cohort? I don't know what the word is. I guess your class for competing.
The open women are like big teddy bears, and we're all really good friends. So I think that we have a pretty good little group that we have going on. There were some new faces this year, so it was their first time at OSG, and we try our best to make them comfortable and make them like feel like part of the group. Because there's a lot of us that have been doing this for a few years now. So like we all know each other, and I think having a smaller group is kind of cool because we can do that. I feel like with the lighter weights, they're more like a little aggressive, I want to say. And I think the heavyweights are just big teddy bears. I think it's with like
I think they're just I think the lighter weight women are just wily. Like
Holly,
like Holly, exactly. That's the first person that comes to mind. She's wily.
Dude, that was crazy. And also the U80 guys, I was impressed by like them lowering the heights on everything for them, so they use the same heights as the women. I was like, it's a smart move because those guys are like very like just built, like from like no context, you're like, that person looks huge. And then you see them and you're like, oh, that's the height. Yeah. They were so great though. I was like, we appreciate lightweight athletes. We just need to put that out there. Sometimes we've had controversy with you all, but we appreciate you all. Your class is definitely great.
I'm just laughing because you're just like, you see them in real life and then you're like, oh, you're really short.
Yeah. I was like, that's what Andy always tells me. She was like, don't comment on how big some of the women are because I get surprised and I'm like, whoa. And don't comment how short some of the men are because those are my two instincts I have to fight. Andy was like, don't say that, to be like, whoa, you're way shorter than I thought. In my mind, that's like, I was like, that's just a normal observation after USS National. She was like, you can't keep telling all the lightweight guys that.
That's like I've had multiple bosses that just love to like walk into a meeting with me and be like, Darren, you're looking kind of small today. You're a dick.
Oh man. That's always crazy. and everything. Some people are bigger though. Josh Lancaster was bigger than I expected. I was like, then also Andrew Clayton, seeing him with everyone, that's an astounding frame to hold 105 kilograms. I was like, it's wild to see like the way everyone's built is real interesting. I was like, overall, very fun experience though.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell anyone they're smaller than I thought. I had to just be like, that's an inside thought.
Good job.
I was like, hilarious though.
I know.
This strongman show where everybody's like peaking, like peak testosterone. You looking kind of small today, dude. You're smaller than I thought.
Yeah, because in my mind, I always
ready for this.
Yeah, I always thought it's normal, but I realized as someone who only casually lifts, telling people to be like, "Oh, I thought you'd be bigger than me." That's like not a good thing to say to people. I was like, it's hard though not to like comment on people.
I think in strongman, it's okay to tell people that they're big.
It's true to tell people they're big. That's what Andy was
like
claiming.
The goal, right? It's to be jacked.
Andy was like, don't tell women they're big. I'm like, in this sport, I think it might be okay.
Yeah. It's definitely a compliment.
I was like, because I was just like, whoa. I was
you're built like a fucking Cadillac.
That's true. Some people are built like a fridge. Like some of the open men, I'm just like a literal refrigerator. They're like
mission accomplished. Crazy.
Yeah. So that's true. I just won't comment on the height thing. I was like, it's so hard not to. Andy had all these little prompts. She was like, remember to do this. Don't do this in public. I was like, okay. I was like, I'll be good and sociable. It's sad that we didn't get to talk to you, but we also didn't want to bother you on that first day because we saw you at first watch. Almost said hello, but then it was very sad. Thursday, I think it was.
Yeah.
It was like around lunchtime. I was like, that's not a good time to say hello. I was like,
always a good time to say hello.
Yeah.
I was like, we didn't know to find time. So we just watched you from afar.
Well, we were trying to grab anybody and everybody we could on Sunday. And it was like, that was really tough. Mm-hmm. When I wasn't competing anymore and I had time, we were interviewing people and we were just grabbing anybody we could. And we just didn't get to everybody, unfortunately, which sucks. But there's going to be other shows. I'm sure we'll be at OSG next year. And I don't know if I'll compete at OSG again, but I would like to be there and spend more time and just spend time and like talk to everybody, talk to you, talk to everyone else and have some time to get some good interviews and good content to spread the word of strongman and give everybody a platform to speak and help get everybody's name out there. Cause I think, we talk about that so many times we have talked about it so many times on World's Strongest Man is trying to, as a community, helping everybody be as successful as they can, not just, strongman, the competition is up to the individual, but I think when it comes to like social media and exposure and helping everybody out, like, I think it's kind of a community effort. It should be because we're in it together. Right.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
That's true. Because we were saying, I was like, Erin, we were very complimentary of her social media presence. Like, it's interesting to like watch people like as they like change and adapt. Because it's funny, after our interview, I told her, I was like, check out our first interview with Nez, like see how it is. And she was like, you guys look so different. We're like all awkwardly just like,
well, you had hair. So
I did have hair. Yeah.
That's what's different.
True. I was like I had better lighting. Off. There's hair.
I think I had more facial hair. Also,
true. I did have a lot more hair.
Yeah, I have a lot more hair now too. I had very short hair.
Yeah, because I was like, and I remember that day because Darren was 10 minutes late, and I was trying my best just to like awkwardly make small talk.
You had a job interview, wasn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah. I think you were in like final rounds of something.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's been so long ago, I forgot. And I didn't actually even stay at that job because they were terrible. I think I did. I mean, I got the job. I'm pretty sure I got that job. And then it was like day 3 or 4. I'm in my first meeting and my boss, my manager there told me to bring a lot of questions to this meeting. And so I'm asking a lot of questions. And I'm asking a lot of questions because I'm very like intimately familiar with the material that's being presented. And apparently my questions angered the presenter because he couldn't answer some of my questions. And he just like loses it and starts yelling at me in this meeting. And next thing I know, my manager who's sitting behind me is like instant messaging him, and they're popping up on the presentation screen, and they're not good, right? They're really terrible, like messages, and I never got an apology or anything, and it just like it just went downhill from there. And I'm like, I think I lasted 3 weeks, and I just showed up on a Monday morning, and I'm like, I'm here's my stuff. I'm not coming back. I'm done. Because that's just, it was crazy. It was like so like bad. It was like so toxic just right out the gate. I'm like, yep, this isn't going to work out for me.
Yeah, that's so sad.
Oh man, it happens more than I would like to admit, unfortunately.
This year had some challenges.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's been an intense one.
Yeah. So, Nez, what is, I mean, other than Arnold, and you've got the it's called the World's Strongest Nations. Is that, am I saying it right?
Yeah.
Oh, I did that too. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's true. How is that?
Oh, it's so much fun because there's not a lot of pressure. It's more of like a production. It's not like you're competing against somebody. It's more of like you have a team, and like just don't disappoint your teammate. And it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like a good time too, of like the way they like structure everything in that arena and everything. I was going to ask you because I was like, yeah.
It just seems so much better in the UK as far as strongman goes.
It's like football here over there. It's like arena shows, and like the fans are super fans. Like they have T-shirts, they have like, you know, flags that say Stoltman Brothers on it. Like they're insane over there about strongman.
What are they doing different than we're doing here in the US?
I think it's more tradition. They have the Highland Games,
sure,
stuff like that, and it's been there longer than it has been over here. And I think Giants Life coming to Las Vegas is going to be a big deal because now it's starting to branch out into the States. And I think that hopefully there's a women's show, crossing my fingers, because then I don't have to go overseas for a Giants Live show.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so, and I think getting more women into the sport has helped grow the sport over here as well.
100%.
I think there's still a gap between the men and women, you know, with how many competitors there are. And there's still a gap between pay discrepancies, stuff like that. And like just opportunities in general. Like there's no Rogue Invitational for women.
Right.
So there's just a lot of work to be done. And I think that within the next few years, it's going to be like women can make a living doing this.
Right.
And it's not just the men that can make a living off of this. And I'm very excited because hopefully if I continue on this path, I can make this a living and not have to work a 9 to 5.
Right. Right. Well, last time we talked, you were full-time athlete.
Yeah, I was coaching and doing that, and
so coaching was still in the kind of in the cards. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I still coach a few people, but it's hard to keep clients and to keep, you know, up with that. And I'm not really good at finding clients because I'm kind of lazy. So it's hard. It's really hard to like go up to somebody and be like, "Hey, you want to do strongman?"
Right.
And they're like, "What the hell is that?" So
right. I always struggled. Like, I took on some clients a long time ago too, and I'm kind of like I don't know if I want to say I'm like a perfectionist per se, but I had a hard time coaching some people because they'd go off program and then they would post about it, and then they'd put me as their coach in their social media, and I'm like, dude, don't give me credit when you're not following the program, bro. Like, take my name off of that. So actually, that was my struggle. Is just like people would not do the, follow the program and do it half-assed, and and then they would take like weeks off, and I'm just like, I don't want to coach people like that.
No, and then they don't send you videos, and you don't have any idea what they're doing. It's
Right?
it's rough. It's rough to be a coach.
Yeah. I don't know how some people do it. Like, and I mean, there's a lot of people that are really great, people or people, whatever you want to call them, right? And like they get along really well with everybody, and I'm not one of those people. Like, I just like if you're not on like the same wavelength as me and like giving it your all, I'm just like, the money's not worth it. Yeah, kind of coaching was not my thing, really.
It's tough because it's like constant maintenance.
Yep.
Everything, like you can't. I mean, some people do just coast and just copy and paste and stuff, but
sure,
it's like it's a whole lot to do and everything.
Yeah,
So,
but I mean, getting back to what you said though, I mean, it's just like it seems like just a few years ago, there really weren't ever really any. There weren't women really competing. The women's weight classes were, just a handful of women, and that's grown so dramatically over the last few years. And like you said, I think things continue. And I mean, you're putting up crazy numbers. Sam Beliveau is putting up crazy numbers, and, a handful of other women. I think that really draws a lot of attention to the women's weight classes and proving that, women can be extraordinarily strong too. And it's going to, just keep attracting more and more women to the sport, more and more fans. So I think it's definitely going in the right direction. And again, athletes like yourself are really putting women's strength athletics in the spotlight. And I think the future is really, really bright in my opinion. So.
Yeah, I think so too. And also, like, for people to say that we're just as entertaining to watch as the men, it's like a huge compliment to us, because you hear like women's sports are boring, and it's like, no, we're like doing the same events as men, and we're like putting up pound for pound like what the men would be putting up, and I think that that's pretty freaking cool.
I mean, the vast majority of men on this planet cannot clean and press a 320-pound log. So, I mean, that says a lot, right? And, my girlfriend is an example. This OSG was her first experience with strongman, and she was so into the women's classes. I mean, she's in the stands screaming and going nuts. So, I mean, that's a testament, in my opinion, to how well the women are doing. I mean, the show that they're putting on, and the feats that they're performing is like, it's huge. It's very huge. And I'm a big fan. I love seeing huge lists by women. And I just like, I'm excited to see what you're going to do in 2024.
Yeah, I'm excited too. There's some meets that haven't been able to be announced yet, but there should be some exciting things going on that are brand new. So pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I keep hearing these rumors, or like kind of whispers of, something that can't be announced yet. So I'm really excited to hear what this is going to be.
And I have the biggest mouth, so I'm like, it's so hard.
I know. I was like, can we just get a preview off air?
I'm always the guy that's like, I'll kind of like whisper about stuff, but I'm like, gotta keep it on the down low. Like, I'm not going to say this person's name because, XYZ. And then everybody's like, oh, I know who that is. And I'm like, oh, I guess everybody else has already talked.
That's true. It's like little trivia for World's Strongest Opinions. Is Darren being like, I won't mention this name, like, and just people can guess.
Yeah, people just guess. Well, everybody knows because everybody talks in strongman. Like anything and everything that goes on, everybody already knows.
That's true.
That is true. That is true. We're such a smallish community that like things go around so quickly.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, and good things. Like, I mean, I try to ignore like all the negative drama stuff. I don't care. I don't have time for it. But like good things. good things are happening, I think, across the board, from amateur strongman to professional strongman, women's classes. Things are growing. We got people like Lynn who are, putting up equitable prize pots that are growing year after year. So I mean, I think the trend will continue. We've got good people, better and even more good people taking places of I don't know, for lack of better words, authority, in the sport, leadership roles, let's call it that, which is more appropriate. Taking leadership roles, or looking at leadership roles that I think are going to really help grow the sport and steer it in the right direction once and for all. So I think the sport's got a very bright future at this point, and I'm very happy to finally see things moving in that direction after kind of, like, in my opinion, I've been in the sport for 15 years, and I feel like there was a real stagnant decade there, right? And things are really moving in the right direction, and it's really, really fun to watch and very exciting to see the future.
Yeah, 2024 is going to be super exciting.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's true. I had one last question for you that's not strongman related. What are the top 3 In Flames albums? We were talking about In Flames recently.
That's a hard one. Clayman is number 1. Horacle's number 2. That's the one I have tattooed on me. And then their self-titled album, I think it's their first one, with Lunar Strain.
Yeah.
That one's those are my top 3.
Nice.
I like their old stuff. Their new stuff's a little too sing-songy for me, but I do like old In Flames.
That makes sense. I actually enjoyed their new one. The Foregone was pretty decent this year.
I haven't listened to it yet.
It's actually has some pretty good bangers on there. So but it is a different sound though. I feel like a lot more people have gotten into the clean vocals and like a certain, like you said, sing song, kind of like arena music. Oh, I can see that. That was the bonus round though for this interview. I just had to ask. I was like, because
because you do King Listener reviews, so you gotta plug your other podcast here, man.
It's true. Where we review metal music. I'm still desperately trying to figure out what my top 5 albums for this year was, and not getting bullied by Luke Davis about my choices. Because it's one of those things where I like, I don't always I like heavy music, but apparently it's not heavy enough for some people. So
did you listen to Avenged Sevenfold's new album?
It was a lot like Daft Punk's.
It was very weird.
Random Access Memories. It had some weird Daft Punk moments.
Okay, yeah. You said metal music, and I was like, let me see what he thinks about the newest Avenged Sevenfold album.
I was like, Cam loves it. So Cameron Peters, my co-host, he's a big fan of that and everything. But it is it had Avenged Sevenfold will always have a special place in my heart because it's like the time they came up of being a teenager with City of Evil and stuff. That album was just the music videos were great. YouTube just taking off. I was like, so I'll always have a very special place in my heart. And then Amity Affliction, of course, I love the new album. As far as good albums of this year, Foregone by In Flames and Amity's new album was pretty great. And Currents, Death We Seek by Currents. That's the album I tell everyone they should listen to.
I gotta listen to that.
Oh, it's so good. But Foregone, it's good. I like everything In Flames does though. So I'm kind of just there for the ride. Even with Avenged Sevenfold. So brief music interlude, but we can get back to Strongman. I just had to hear because I was like, anytime someone has a band tattoo, I have to hear what their exact thoughts are on that. And that's nice that it's crazy once you go through their discography and look at albums that are now 30 years old.
Oh yeah.
You're like, that's crazy. Lunar Strain, that's going to be 30 years old next year.
Maybe 30 years old next year.
That's crazy. I'm always surprised when people are younger than me. I was like, Andy and I, whenever people are younger than us, we're like, that's terrible. Whereas I need to age gracefully like Darren, who supports all of us.
I don't know if I've aged gracefully. at all.
He turns 45 on Christmas, so
no, Christmas Eve, Sunday.
Christmas Eve. Okay.
Sunday. Yep, on the 24th.
So that's exciting. It's like a Christmas birthday. I was like,
Yeah,
so this
no,
is
it's not exciting. It's not exciting. I mean, it doesn't matter anymore that I'm 45 because nobody can afford the toys I want anyway. But growing up, being like a child, when your like birthday is the day before Christmas in a poor family, you just get to open a Christmas present one day earlier and get one fewer Christmas presents than your siblings. So no, it's not cool.
Yeah, I can see that
and then my next oldest brother had a birthday in June, and so he would get birthday parties every year because my parents had money, right, for that. But then they were like always short because they had to buy all like 3 kids presents for Christmas plus birthday. So like I got gypped every year, man. It's terrible.
Okay.
And I've had like one birthday party in my like. Feel sorry for me, John. This is what I'm looking for. Not really. Really, I don't care. But I've had like one birthday party in my entire life.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Now that you describe it like that, that doesn't sound nearly as fun of a ride. Turning 30, by the way, was great. Like my life has gotten exponentially better since I turned 30. So I'm like, I like that part. My 20s,
a bit of a crisis.
Yeah, my 20s were definitely a bit of a crisis and everything. So it's like, I mean, as someone, anytime people like emo or metal music, I'm like, you understand crisis. Like,
yeah,
you get like a tumultuous time where it's like you're still figuring yourself out and everything. But 30s have been good. For all our listeners, I would say, since most of our listeners apparently are 25 to 35, I'm like, half of them are doing real great.
The reality is that the older you get, the more, clearly the more life experience you have. And I think the older I get, the less I give a shit about things, right? And the more like I'm able to just be like, yeah, life is a roller coaster, man. You need to be resilient because life is going to get hard many times. It's not going to stop getting hard. There's good times and there's going to be bad times. Just you need to be resilient. You need to work through things and just push forward. Because life is never going to stop being hard for everybody. I don't think it matters what I don't know. I think obviously socioeconomic status may play a part in how hard life can be, but it doesn't matter. Like life finds a way to like kick you in the dick, man, over and over and over again. Doesn't matter. Something's going to happen. So you gotta, I don't know. I hate to say it, you got to kind of suck it up and push through. Got to be strong to live life, man. Well, Inez, you're yawning. So sorry, we're boring you.
We worked out.
We have been going like we're almost at an hour and 10 minutes anyway. And we always say we try to keep these at an hour. Any closing thoughts for our listeners, your fans?
Just looking forward to 2024 and wish me luck for my prep for the Arnold because it's going rough.
You're gonna do great. We're gonna be cheering for you. We do wish you luck. Train hard. I have no doubt you're gonna do really well.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah. So good having you back.
Agreed. Hopefully it won't be another year.
That's true. We're going to have to do, if you'd be down for it, maybe Arnold recap episode with you and Aaron.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Nice little like team episode.
There you go.
So down. She'll be down.
Thank you.
That would be great.
Awesome.
All right, Ness. Nice talking to you.
Support us on Patreon or Anchor and find us on Instagram or Facebook.